welcome to the Lewis Nichols Show, and I'm really excited to finally bring back one of my favourite guests ever. It's the incredible Doon Mackichan. How are you?
Hooray! I'm really good, thank you. It's lovely to speak to you again.
Thank you so much for coming on. There's lots to talk about. Obviously, you've been very busy, especially last year and the year before, but a lot has happened since we last spoke. So I kind of want to talk about obviously in series 6, when it was announced that you were leaving Two Doors Down. You know how heartbroken I was because I messaged you.
Yeah.
But what was the reason behind that?
That was kind of private family issues, really. It was needing to be home, and yeah, it was to do with someone who was struggling within the family who needed my time. So I remember calling Simon and him saying, look, we can try and work around this, and there was no way to work around it because it's a punishing schedule, and you can't go, oh, Doon needs like a week off it after every week so she can, you know, go and be with her daughter. So yeah, it was a family issue, and then thank goodness it sort of resolved and I was able to come back last year.
Obviously, they brought Siobhan Redman into the show as kind of Colin's new love interest in the series that you weren't in. Did you watch any of that series?
I did, with my mum, which was very funny, and I was quite shocked to hear everyone slagging Cathy off so vehemently, so very quickly. I was like, wow, actors are really very cross with me about having gone. So yeah, I never liked her anyway. She was blah blah. I was like, oh God, okay. But and then when Colin got a girlfriend, woo, that was quite shocking so quickly. I mean, I thought it was very funny when he met someone on sort of Grindr or Tinder. I personally would have wanted to see him suffering a bit longer. I thought there was more comedy to be gained from him not coping very well, because the one thing we do know about Cathy and Colin is they do really love each other. So yeah. But then men always do hook up a lot quicker than women. I mean, I know Cathy had gone off with her estate agent, but yeah, it was interesting to watch it. I don't quite know. It was very hard for me to make an objective decision about seeing him with another woman. I just suppose I just feel that Cathy and Colin are an item forever. So Cathy was always going to come back.
For me, it just felt strange without you. And obviously when you came back in series 7, it was great. How did that come about, and what were the conversations like in regards to Cathy's return?
Well, things had settled at home, and I just put the feelers out sort of via my agent to one of the execs and said, look, it is possible that I could come back. And they were like, God, we'd have you back in like a shot. So there was no question of them sort of going, let's see. And I don't think Siobhan wanted to do anymore. So that made it a lot easier than her being kind of sacked or fired. I think she wasn't going to come back anyway. So it was perfect that I could come back.
The first episode where Cathy came back, it was exactly what we all wanted. She was brash. She had no concept of what she had done and what she put Colin through. I mean, what was it like being back on set? And when you read the scripts for the episode, you must have been like, yes, she's back.
I was so very happy with that coming back episode. Because Cathy had to also be a little bit on her, well, very much on her best behavior, and ask questions she couldn't be less interested in hearing the answers to, like, what have you two been up to? And also, you've been printing away. She doesn't give a shit about anyone else's lives. She's a completely narcissistic, but she just did expect Colin. She was playing down what she'd done. She did expect Colin to just take her back. So her struggling was a joy to act. Her to have to be polite and do the drinks and ask Christine how she was, and all those things were painful to her. But she just thought, well, I'll get through this and then I'll be. I think she expected to be welcomed with open arms and was shocked not to be.
Do you know what I found really funny with, you know, the fact that you had gone and come back? You know, I'd done interviews with all of the cast to promote the last series, and every single one were just so happy that you were back. And especially Joy, they said that it felt something was missing, and it's almost like you and Cathy is the missing part of the puzzle that lets everyone be themselves. That like you can't have Christine without Cathy, you can't have Colin without Cathy, and you can't have Michelle without Cathy. You know, she's such a big presence in that show.
Well, that's very lovely and very flattering to hear it. But she is, purely from a writing point of view, like a catalyst. So when she comes in the room, stuff will happen. She'll say the wrong thing. She'll because she's so bored with the, you know, life in Latimer Crescent. She wants there to be. She wants to start a fight. She wants people to dance. She wants to get things going. So do the audience. They're like, great, Cathy's here. Without Cathy, it was I suppose it was a bit like you're missing the catalyst to what's and also great physical comedy to be had. I can get up from the sofa and a lot of them can't. So I'm always high kicking and doing a crab or dancing. So that's also nice in relation to everyone sitting. That becomes funny because everyone is sitting down. So they allow me to be funny as well. Very much
I
so.
did text you when the last series went out, that moment where Cathy, it was so unexpected when Eric had said something and she goes, "Shut up, Eric, you big fucking asshole." Me and my partner were crying because this series, normally you can kind of predict when something's coming with Cathy. This series you couldn't. It just happened, and that for me was really special.
Maybe also because it was BBC One, we had less swears. So when they do come, they were really special, and we really enjoyed them as well. Because Christine and I definitely had less fucks in our vocabulary.
Obviously, we had the really sad news with the passing of Simon, and I know that hit you hard because he seemed to be the guy that really kept that show, and he would add little bits in, and you know, he would change a part of the script, and he just really knew what he was doing. And we saw your Instagram post about that, and it hit you hard. I mean, what were your memories on working with Simon?
So Simon originally had done a kind of stand-up act where he was basically a fledgling Cathy, and he was somebody who worked in a sunbed factory and called Fan of the Tan was the name of his. I think you can actually see it on YouTube. He's really, really funny. So Cathy, I think, came directly from that character. So in a way, Simon was Cathy. But apparently Gregor used to write more for Cathy and Simon used to write more for Christine, which I never knew. I always thought Simon wrote most for Cathy, but it was the most devastating and unexpected and awful news. I found out on my birthday. I was in Thailand with my daughter. We just finished the series, which seemed to have gone really, really well. I felt I got even closer to Simon this year, which made me really sad that he was unable to share his pain of what he was going through. So it was just completely devastating to all of us, because the thought of trying to do it without him is almost inconceivable, because he did micromanage every line. So he would come in, he would tiptoe in, and we all used to sing. The minute Simon would come on, we'd all go sneak, 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 because he'd tiptoe up to one of the actors and then just whisper one note that would really transform the scene. And it would be like, go bigger, or just have a go more at Michelle, but in a nicer way. You know, he knew what the tone was. And also in the edit, he would very much be part of the edit. Of course, he wasn't part of any of the edit of this series, which I still think was phenomenal. But it's impossible to imagine trying to do it without him. I'm not saying it may never happen again, but for now, none of us can imagine being on a set without him, trying to get this. The tone of Two Doors Down, the ensemble, everything we've worked for years. I think we've all been together like 9 years since the pilot. It's just a huge hole. So how do you imagine trying to do it and it not being good? It missing, like it missed Cathy, it misses Simon, that something's not right. So that in a way is one good reason to leave it. I know that probably the BBC and maybe Gregor, the writer, will he'll certainly be being pressured to find another writer to work with and to see if we can come up with something. But who knows what will the future of the collaboration will be now that he's, you know, sadly no longer here.
I mean, speaking to some of the cast, some have said they would, of course, go back. They love the show. They think with the right, you know, writer, it could have something. And a lot of people have said the writer of Benidorm, who was close friends with Simon, he could get involved. If the script was right and you felt, yes, this has got a bit of Simon about it, would you consider returning to the show?
Yeah, I think if the scripts were right, then yes, if the ensemble did, because it's such a shame that we had just gone to BBC One.
Yeah.
Even more people. So it used to be that I was mostly recognised for Smack the Pony, Plebs, Toast of London sometimes, and now it's mostly Two Doors Down, which is really great. But there's something so brilliant about how two writers write together. It's such an art. It's not just a gag. It's just the way that Gregor and Simon would laugh at the minutiae of what they were talking about. I mean, the way people just segue from one conversation to another is kind of genius. And it would have to be a very, very, very good writer to be able to be part of that team. And also because Simon sort of co-directed it really with Ben. Ben officially was the one who would do all the technical things and also give notes, but Simon was the one who sort of was able to do the tiny changes that made the biggest difference within a scene if it wasn't quite lifting. So I don't know is the answer, but yes, of course, we would all want to be all a part.
Fingers crossed in the future. But you know what I love about Two Doors Down? A lot of comedy shows on BBC get a big push promotionally, you know, and it gets all the viewers. But Two Doors Down really is the word of mouth of comedy in the sense of you tell one person, they love it, they tell two people. And it's grown from when we last did an interview to now. It's phenomenal just how many people are watching the show. Have you found that?
Yeah, definitely. Because we, you know, it was big in Scotland, which is Kieran's, the name of Kieran's one-man show, which is extremely funny. I saw it like a couple of weeks ago. And it is all about how Two Doors Down began and how he started to be recognised on the streets. And then that grew and grew and grew. Yeah, now it's, rather than being BBC Scotland, it was BBC Two, it's BBC One. Now it's many, many more people. I was just filming in Liverpool, and the guy who looked after all the wagons was the most huge fan. There were just so many, there are so many fans in such weird places that you realize it's reached a lot of people and a lot of different kind of classes as well, which is brilliant.
Do you know, I have to say, since our first interview, I've interviewed over 1,000 people now, and you are one of the most genuine and sincere and real people I've ever interviewed. You're always gracious with your time when you reply, and you're just so honest. And, you know, that's one thing I wanted to share on this interview, is that's one thing I found since, you know, I've got to know you from the interview.
Thank you so much. That's really nice of you. Thank you.
So it's time. I don't know if you remember last time that we did a quiz.
Oh yeah, great! Quiz, hooray! I remember the tonic water that was given to baby
Madison.
Yes.
So this is about some of the episodes that we've not kind of spoke about, and some of the more classics. So the first one is, what did Ian and Gordon give Cathy as a present at her Christmas lodge?
At her, oh yes, a box of twigs and stones from the.
Your reaction in that episode was hilarious.
I love that ep because it slightly got a different feel to it, because we were, for the first time ever, we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It really felt, for Cathy, it was just like, God, she'd have to do a lot of day drinking to get through that. I just love the fact that it's slightly different tone to everything else. It's a bit, I remember meeting a couple of people outside Waitrose, and let's say they were day drinkers. Maybe they were street day drinkers, and they went, oh, I didn't like that episode. That was very dark because it really did look at Cathy's drinking too
Yeah.
much.
But do you know, that's one thing you do really well is during that episode, because sometimes you see Cathy think, God, she's horrible. Why does she do that? But you have this way, especially in that episode, where you see Cathy's vulnerabilities, that actually she hates the fact that people have turned on her or making comments, and she's actually quite insecure despite the confidence and the brash character.
Yes, and that's why she drinks. Sorry, my phone is keeps slipping down. Yeah, I think with what could be a stereotyped sort of borderline alcoholic, because we're all quite stereotyped in that show. You've got the kind of, you got the doormat, you've got, you know, Beth who does everything for everyone. You got Christine who's a kind of like foul-mouthed neighbor, and Joy who's just like the sweet, and Cathy's just the nightmare, you know, the nightmare neighbor. But creating vulnerabilities within any stereotype makes them real and makes for a much funnier all round. You know, Cathy could, sometimes I was pushed sometimes by Simon to be broader. They wanted it to be broader. I remember actually you saying that your is it your husband
But
or
yeah,
your boy,
partner, yeah.
your partner, your sweetheart,
Yeah.
one of your favorite things was me marching up and down with the Highland grannies. You see, at the time, I found that too much. And I remember feeling a bit, you know, if I'm not in the mood to be really big and brassy, Cathy, sometimes I'd be a bit like, no, I don't want to say that, or I don't want to do that. And that was borderline for me, but I'm glad it worked in the end.
He was actually going to get that tattooed on him. I mean, I was the one that suggested not, just in case job interviews and stuff. The next one is, what did Cathy take from Michelle's house during girls' night?
Oh my God.
So she walked out.
She took the vodka.
Yes.
Took the vodka. Yeah.
What was the name of Cathy's friends that she went on holiday with? Amalfi friends.
Oh yes. Oh shit. That's Julie, Graham, and Kevin. I only know their acting names. Oh my God. Do you know what? You've got me there. But I did tell you their acting names, but
we'll
not
give
their.
you half a point. It was Gail and Andy.
Gail and Andy. Oh my God. That's one of the saddest. That's one of the baddest behaved she's been, isn't it? When she says about Christine to stick her over there.
Oh, it's awful. What did Cathy smash with a golf club in the last series?
A tile.
She did. What did Cathy and Colin give to Gordon as a gift in the veggie curry episode?
Oh my God. What did we give to Gordon? It will have been something shit.
So he was attacked. No, Ian was attacked. Gordon was scared. So you gave him something because he was a bit of a wuss in your eyes.
Oh, mace. Oh no, Cathy's rape alarm.
That's the one.
Yes.
This one's hilarious. What did Cathy have everybody watching during girls' night on the laptop?
Pornography. Are you trying to work out the particular type that she?
Oh, I remember.
Of the possible types, didn't she? Underwater hand job was a favourite.
Oh, I'm so using that as the promo for this interview. Just that word. What happened at Cathy's hot tub party, which ruined the entire night?
The picture of the ultrasound picture was dropped, and the tray of drinks went into the water.
Yeah.
So Eric cut his arm.
In the car alarm episode, when the car alarm was going off, when walking back home, where did Cathy want to go with Colin?
Oh my goodness!
So you
on the way back from the house from watching.
Yeah, so you were leaving the house, and just before you were going into yours, you made a suggestion to Colin where you could go.
Well, it won't have been Wetherspoons because that's not my kind of place. Shit, was it a pub?
No, do you want me to tell you?
Oh no. Oh, was it back into any of their houses? No. Oh, McDonald's?
Yes.
No. Yes.
You got it. Wow, I
McDonald's.
didn't think you'd get that.
That's great.
What was the name of Colin's ex-girlfriend who he kept mentioning, which really upset Cathy?
Oh my God. Because she's at the sink and she sees the flowers. Oh
So
my
it's
God, I can't remember her name. That's terrible.
so it's Colin's ex-girlfriend, and it's on the episode, and he keeps talking about.
Oh yes. Yes, and I see you're on a cock hunt in a one something
Yeah,
cock. I can't remember. You've got me. I've lost. I can't
y-
believe it. 100 out of 100.
Yvonne.
Yvonne. But what then? I just couldn't even remember the name of the character who he'd just been with.
Anne
Who's
Marie.
Anne Marie? Anne Marie. Yes.
And the last question: what did Cathy say in response? Do you know what? This one gets me. And I've asked this question just so you can say it again. But what did Cathy say in response to when she was told that Louise is seeing someone?
God, who's Louise again?
So it's Michelle's friend. So it's
I've
in
got.
the episode Housewarming. She brings
Yeah.
her friend who's deaf called Louise,
Oh yeah. Say
and she
that
says,
again.
"Oh, she's actually seeing someone at the moment." And then you say,
Because I remember what she says, that she can drive, Colin, or
"Yeah."
something. Can drive. What did she say about Louise when she found out she had a.
So this is me and Grado were talking about this 2 weeks ago, and he said it's one of his funniest bits. But Cathy says, "Good job," because she can't even fucking hear them.
How could I forget that? What was the pun? But you didn't give me what the feed line was. What was the feed line?
So she says, "Oh yeah,
I'm
she's seeing
seeing
someone."
someone. Oh, I get you. Well,
And then
that's
yeah, that was your. And do you know what? We were talking about how sometimes in comedy now you have to play it safe, and then we were just discussing that line because it's one of those times where you're like, "Wait, there, did she actually just say that?" And it was a good moment in the show.
yeah. Because her offensiveness to that someone who can't hear was such that it was incremental throughout the episode to being very, very sort of patronizing and, oh, she can drive, Cole, oh bless her, to actually being angry because she was ruining the party, to being actively offensive. It's a very slow build to that, and then getting slapped was just great.
I am a rude cow. Do you remember
Yeah.
that bit?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a lot about Two Doors Down, but you've been keeping busy, especially last year. You released your book as well, which was huge for you. You were on tour, you were doing lots of different interviews about this. So tell us about the book and how long that took, because that was something really kind of personal to you and something you were excited about.
Yeah, I started writing just like I found a load of diaries in lockdown, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna do this is gonna be my job in lockdown. I'm just gonna use this as an exercise to keep writing. I never ever thought I'd publish it. But once I'd started kind of going through the stories, I thought that there were some stories that really should be heard about what people would be quite shocked with about like what you come up against in the business. And I carried on. I sent it to an agent, and then it was a long journey. It was 3 years, and I write longhand, so it was an incredible labor of love because, as I'm on my phone, I don't have a laptop, so all the changes were huge, and it was basically cut down to half what it originally was. And I think because the publishers had very much an agenda that they really liked my activism and my politics and stuff about sexism, they slightly pushed it down a kind of, this is the road we want, this is the hook. We don't really want that story. So there's loads and loads of things that you don't hear about. You don't hear about anything about Two Doors Down. It's basically about 21 stories from my life that are there to highlight the difficulties I've had bringing babies to set, getting sued, getting, dropped from a job because I was pregnant, certain male attitudes when I was doing stand-up comedy, just the sort of journey. So it's not a kind of celeb. In the introduction, it says what you won't be hearing about is, and it gives a list of all the really juicy stories that everyone wants to hear about, which is all my celebrity stories. It's much more kind of, hopefully not too dry, but it is a sort of call to arms about how to change the culture a bit around stereotypes, how to make someone like Cathy a vulnerable, a rounded character that people really, really love, and how you have to fight against, stereotypes. So the book is called My Lady Parts, and there's a picture of me with all the kind of parts I've played: desperate cougar, bossy bitch, hag, nag, Lolita, and it looks at just some roles that I've played. And it's been, I mean, I'll probably never write a book again. It was so hard. I've really enjoyed getting feedback from, I mean, I'm doing talks to audiences and then book signings, and that's very different for me, you know, to sort of be sitting in a line with saying who's it to, like someone in a film. It's good though. I've had some great reactions. I've had some bad reactions. I lost a big job, which I should be doing now because I'd upset a director in the book. So things like that are, if you're going to call it out, you're going to have to take the flack. Wow. So yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting how telling the truth can be, people don't really like it perhaps in the business. And some people who would be upset. I don't name names. I think I named like 2 people in it, but it's quite a short book. I think there's funny bits, but on the whole, that is kind of the agenda of it.
You know, I don't want to probe into the job you lost, but I know obviously last year you were doing a stage show as well, and you had to withdraw from that. Was that the job you had to withdraw for upsetting somebody?
No. That was a family crisis.
Oh, okay.
That was a family crisis. So that was very sad because I was really, the book tied in very much with the themes of the play, and I was loving that. And because the director, I knew him, he was letting me go off and do book dates around the rehearsals. You know, that was just a sort of family tragedy we had. So we all had to just, I couldn't carry on performing. Yeah. I tried possible. No, it was something that came after that, and I went for meetings, and I was sort of offered the job, and then I mentioned that I'd written about the director, and so I was politely let go. So interesting. Yeah.
You know, with obviously putting the book together, it's so personal to you. There must be such a huge element of nerves when you're putting that out there for people to read, to comment on, to have an opinion on, because it's so personal to you. What was it like the day of the launch?
Yeah, I felt really weird. I thought, why have I done this? Why do I want people to read my diary? I'm a private person. I at that point wasn't on any social media. My daughter then said, "Mum, you've got a book coming out. You should get on Instagram." So I am on Instagram for the first time in 15 years, a bit late to the party. But yes, it was very, I felt very vulnerable. And I thought, why did I want to do this? And on the whole, I've had a very positive response. And also I'm not going to be reading lots of bad responses because my daughter manages my Insta. So I don't see any of the bad comments but I've got, you know, when friends, close friends, you know, people I respect don't mention it, and I know that they've read it, that's also painful because maybe they'd rather not tell me than say I didn't like it. And I know a good few people who haven't enjoyed it. So that's quite painful because you want to be a people pleaser and you want everyone to enjoy it, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. And I think people will be, like I spoke to Radcliffe and Marconi on Six Music, and you could tell that they were a little bit stumped, that they admired it, but they were like, you know, is it a call to arms? You know, what is it? Is it a manifesto? And I thought, well, no, I hope it isn't that. I hope it's just one woman's story of trying to put food on the table and not sell out and continue to do good work and not do, you know, not go to the jungle and all those kind of things, and not do Strictly, and not, well, I mean, I'm not that kind of an actor, but you know, certain adverts that I've said no to, and yeah, you remain poor if you stick to your principles.
Do you know what I love with you as well? Because I know it's been a really hard couple of years. You've mentioned that you've had some family crisis and you've had to withdraw some from some jobs that you like. And when you're on stage, you're essentially a character. So when you're having to put on that character, then come off stage and be you, be Doon at home, that's exhausting. And obviously, you've been through all of that, and it seems like you're back, you're ready. So what's happening this year? Because I get the sense there's something happening. You can just see it on your face today that there's something.
I think what's happening is I'm feeling better for the first time in about 3 months because it's been
Yeah,
such a time. Um, so what's happening is personal healing, like just battening down the hatches, walking the dog, writing my diary, not pushing myself too hard to be pitching the next idea. You know, I've got some ideas for things. There's nothing. It's really scary financially because all of us would be doing the live show this year plus Two Doors Down, you know, in a few months. I fingers crossed have got Good Omens going again at the end of the year, which is amazing. So, but they haven't locked down any dates. So literally, I have no work, which is kind of really scary, but actually really needed because that job that I lost, I don't think I was ready to do it. I think
yeah,
in my head I was ready, but meant I sort of, yeah, of course, you know, but actually on a day-to-day basis, being in a place without people that you love, you know, the great thing about Two Doors Down is that we were such a supportive gang that when you're knackered at the end of the day and it's your close-up, Cathy's been in full slap from 6:30 in the morning, and I'm doing my close-up at like 10 to 7 at night, 11 hours on camera. Everyone's got your back. They're all like, come on, you know, that was
yeah,
great. And so that's the joy of a sort of answer. You want to be working with people that you love and respect. That's why I didn't write about Two Doors Down, because there was nothing to write about how the difficulty of the process. I mean, yes, hard work like anything else, but actually I'm glad I didn't do that job because I didn't want to be back in a room with that guy every day. So sometimes life makes your decisions for you. But yeah, no, if only I had some juicy, exciting, yeah, I'm going to be on, you know, I'm doing Hollyoaks on ice. No, I'm not doing it.
that's a spin-off I'd love to see. Do you know what was really special was obviously in series 6, I did an interview with some of the cast all together, and I did bring up the fact that you were no longer in the show and what were their thoughts, and you could see that no one wanted to answer that question and they looked quite down. And then throwback to promoting this series that we just had, the excitement on everyone's face. You know, Johnny Watson was just ecstatic that you were back. Elaine C. Smith, Grado, Joy, everyone was just saying how it just felt right that the gang was back together, that kind of connection. Because I was quite vocal on social media that for me, Series 6 did fall flat and it was my least favorite. Now that's just because I like things, you know, I've watched it from the start and I love it and I love the connections and I just didn't like the dynamic of somebody new. So bringing you back was just, it was the icing on the cake if it is the last series to just have you back.
I mean, I can't quite believe it is not the last series. I can't believe it's the last time we'll all gather, because it still feels that there's a lot of juice left in those connections. So whether we do a Christmas special or a live best of, or I mean, ideally it would be amazing to do a live show that was written from scratch. But you know, Gregor is in pieces, and there's no way you can go, okay, it's time to stop grieving now and collaborate with someone else. I think he's got to be given his time to get over this tragedy. And we'll see what the BBC aren't going to want to let it go. There's too many people love it. I'm sure my Instagram is just mostly Two Doors Down fans, because it went from sort of 5 people to 5,000 in like about 2 days.
Yeah, I remember.
That's probably you, sort of like whipping it all up. But yeah, it's I can't quite believe that's the end. We will have to, we'll have to see.
You know, every time, you know, we chat, you talk about live shows. Do you love the connection that you can have with the audience when you're out there? And because each night's different, you never have the same audience in. So do you, not saying it's a preference, but what's it like for you when you perform live? What do you get most from that?
Well, I started performing live because I did stand up for 8 years. So that's really where my acting was born, was the whether it was a good night or a bad night, whether we had hecklers, whether it was, and then that I went into theatre straight away. So yeah, live audience is just is a joy because they dictate how the night's going to go. And I love doing theatre, but it's really hard work with 8 shows a week. I'm empty nest for the first time literally in 28 years as from Saturday, so that's kind of amazing. It'll be easier to go, actually, yes, I can take this play on, I can go up to Scotland for 4 months, I can, you know, because being a mum, it's like when the shit hits the fan, you got to be there, yeah, as a single mum. But we'll see. I love live stuff. I'd love to do a live show because being in Glasgow is like being a rock star. I mean, I'm literally, people run down the street after me going, oh my God, you know, like, I'm you, you're me, I am Cathy and you are me. And I just love Glaswegian so much. It's probably where I mean, that's where the McKeons are from, the West Coast. I feel like that's my, deep down, that's sort of like my tribe, even though I speak in a piping English accent. I'm about to give an award in Scotland for the Pride of Scotland Awards, and I'm going to have to pretend that I'm putting my English accent on for when I do awards or something, because people are very disappointed when they hear me speaking in English.
Do you know, I want to say thank you for doing this interview, because I know you don't do a lot of them and you are very private, and I'm so grateful that you've come on and you spoke about Two Doors Down, you spoke about your book, which the link's going to be on this video so people can actually get the book. Because is there an audio version as well?
Yeah, there is, and I read the audio version, yeah, which is great. Yeah, no, thank you. You've been such a lovely support throughout since we first met on no, and I don't do many interviews, but I like you, so you're lucky.
Thank you so much.